ArtSpark Texas presents a community conversation with Kali Parsons.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right in and get us going with our introductions and tell you what's happening. So we've been doing a series of community conversations and with artists, different performers, and so forth. So today is visual artist Kali Parsons. Um, and I'm Director of Outreach, Susan Slattery with ArtSpark Texas, and Artworks Director April Sullivan has joined us. Our director is also here, Celia Hughes.
Thank you to ArtSpark Texas for inviting me. I'm Kali Parsons. So anyway, I'm super happy to be here. I'm also just a little bit nervous. This is actually my first artist talk ever. So I thought I would talk about my journey and first, and then talk about my process. I started painting in 2011 when summer break from teaching started. And I should say that I'm a special ed teacher, but I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. I tend to feel a little bit lost when school ends and summer begins because it's like a big part of my identity goes away super abruptly. And in 2011, I was feeling this more than I had in any of my other years of teaching. My own children were independent. I wasn't really needed as much. And so I ended up feeling like I needed something. A few days into that summer break, I took a deep dive into Pinterest and was inspired to start making things. And at first, I started with sewing projects. I turned my kids' old t-shirts into cool bags. The boys and I went and visited my brother in California, and so we had these awesome San Francisco shirts, and I turned it into a bag and lined it with a tie-dye shirt they had. I also have made a whole series of skirts out of their skateboarding outfits, and there's a pocket with some skulls. So that's kind of how I started. And then I saw, as I was taking that deep dive into Pinterest, and I started seeing some really simple flowers. And I'd never really thought about drawing before, but I decided to give it a try. And so I started drawing with ink and using watercolor and painting flowers. And I painted flower after flower after flower. I still have some of them from back then. I've painted thousands of flowers in the past 9 years. And as I was as I was making things, I realized I was actually doing a project, completing something every single day. And so I started a blog and started just documenting it. And back then I would post, it was kind of a gratitude journal for me. I would post something that day that I thought was really fun or happy or just kind of made me smile. And so, I'd have some text over here just about, great stuff that happened in my life. And then I would just post one of my pictures, and they weren't necessarily connected, but that's what I did. And so if you care to look at my blog, it goes all the way back to that June, I think, of 2011. About 2 years into this, I remember having a conversation with a coworker in the workroom at Zilker Elementary, just right here in the neighborhood. And I was talking about how, I just doodle. And she said, she just kind of stopped me in my tracks and said, Kali, you're an artist. And I hadn't really owned that title yet. But that night I went home and I actually changed my occupation in Facebook. And I guess that made it real, that I was a real artist then. So for 4 years, I posted something every single day on that blog. Even when I was sick, hi Drew, thank you. Even when I was sick or the kids were sick or we were taking my youngest to the ER, which happened more than I like to remember, I just did it every single day. And my husband and kids, they were really great because when I first started, it was, like I showed you, it was the ink and watercolor. And I would, run around the house and I would show them my little pieces. And I've got some of the little tiny ones. And they always, they'd stop their Xbox games and give me a thumbs up. They were super, super supportive. And sometimes my art was really tiny because, we'd have a soccer game or something, and, I would have hardly any time. And so I would, give myself a lot of flexibility. And these are not even 2 inches, but, I would have gotten it done. And so my goal was to do something every single day. So I did a lot of tiny little pieces. I did a lot of my chicken Phyllis, who you guys will get to meet in a little bit. And yes, super, super transportable. I would sit at soccer games and at football games, and I wouldn't be watching the games. I'd be sitting there, sketching in my art book and then coming home and scanning it. So yes, good point. Tons and tons of owls. So I would do a lot of that. Let me go over here. I also, along the way, I started taking some really inexpensive online art classes. I would just find them on the internet, and 10, 15 bucks, and started adding supplies, and actually have, this is my little art area over here. I don't know if y'all can see, but it's really packed. And I finally, I finally this summer labeled all my drawers and got everything sorted out after 9 years. So anyway, so I was taking a class here and there, and then I commented on this artist I liked. I commented on her blog, and I won a free class. So that was really cool. I think it was about $30. And she introduced me to acrylic painting, which is far and above my favorite media. I think my favorite thing about acrylic art is that you can cover up anything. If you paint something, you're like, I don't like that, I can just cover it up and it's gone. Watercolor was not nearly as forgiving for me. So acrylic is really fun for me. At about the 4-year mark, I actually won another class from an artist that lives in Scotland, who I'd admired for a long time. And it was a really expensive class, several $100s, but I won it the same way, just by commenting on her blog. And I learned so much from her. I learned, to break things I wanted to draw into their basic shapes. I hadn't really thought of that before then. The importance of layering, understanding that pieces go through a really ugly stage, especially when you're doing, portraits of people. You have to really be patient and work through it. They always end up lovely, but they do go through that stage. And so at that 4-year mark, I think it was to the day, I stopped posting every single day. And I started posting less frequently. Sometimes I would post stages of my paintings. Yes, collage is another trick. Yes, I'm seeing some comments in here. Let's see. My projects were getting bigger and they were getting much more complicated. And I was getting a commission here and there, and some of you guys are here, so thank you guys that have commissioned work for me. Super sweet. Since then, I still take a class online here and there. ArtSpark has actually been super inspiring for me this summer. I just really enjoyed it. I have actually not attended an art class in person, except for the wonderful ones I get to do with my students at school. And you would not believe how much you learn from an elementary school art teacher. So that's been really fun. I was, let's see, I also, I guess I just want to mention I fundraise a lot with my art. There have been, especially around the election, I would sell a lot of pieces and then donate to different causes, and continue to donate things for, auctions and things like that, so that, money can go to different causes. When I was looking through some of my paintings around here, I realized that there's really maybe 5 or so paintings out of over 2,000 paintings I've done. I actually looked at that number recently. So, and I was going to show you, here's one from that class I was talking about, where I started learning to paint things that actually looked like what, I was drawing or painting. This is our dog Scout, who died a few years ago. So this is one of the few paintings that I've done that I'm going to actually keep forever and ever. Our sweet girl. So I was going to talk a little bit about my job as a teacher, because for the past 16 years, I've taught 3, 4, and 5-year-old children who qualify for special education services at Zilker Elementary, which is just up the street from us. I absolutely love my job. And all 16 of those years, before I became an artist, I've used art as a tool, for supporting the curriculum, for teaching concepts like shape, color, position, improving fine motor skills and communication skills, addressing sensory needs, and then also giving them the freedom to create in their own way, with lots of choices. I always have a space in my room for kiddos to create, and there just aren't really any expectations. They just, they're free to create in whatever they want with whatever they want. So that's kind of my journey to where I am here. So as far as my process goes, it has changed a lot over the years. When I first started, I had a little Crayola watercolor set, and I had some markers that were, I guess, I don't know, permanent. I guess they're permanent little markers. And I would basically make myself coloring book pages, and then I would paint them. So they'd be kind of like this, where there wasn't really, I didn't need to know how to draw anything in particular. I could, draw a heart and then just did some little shapes in there, and then I painted the colors within. So that's kind of how I started, and I did that for several years. And then these days, I actually have probably 5 or so paintings going all at the same time in different stages. Got one right here that I've been working on. I'm not sure where it will go. I also use pieces of wood, typically, sometimes a canvas, as my palettes. And I just don't like to waste my supplies, so I do it on, things that I can paint again. And, this could be a finished piece, or, I might paint over it. But you can see, like, I made sure my marker was working. I scraped off little scrapers I use, and extra bits of paint that I have left on my brush before I wash it in the water. I just don't like to waste it. So it all ends up on these. And I have here over the years, so I will paint over them. Like this used to be a palette I used. And I saw a pyramid in it, and then I just added some drips. And to me, now it's a complete painting. And then this I just did with, there's a City of Austin a mixed media group where it's a group of people, both disabled and not disabled, and we all create together. And I used one of my palettes as the background to this piece just, within the last few weeks. So anyway, I think it's really fun to just create stuff out of stuff I have around. Speaking of, I was thinking about Elizabeth's work that she's done. With having us, excuse me, sorry, writing. And this is actually what I started doing with the piece that she was just talking about, kind of writing. But I love using writing in my art. And I keep a kind of gratitude journal, but I do mine on canvases, or this is canvas paper, and then I paint over them. And I can look on here, it's like, okay, here's my animal's name. I've got Hazel, Phyllis, Ruby, and Tommy. And then up here, I'm grateful that I got to shuffle dance with friends on Zoom and stuff like that. So this will end up being painted over, and the words might show and they might not, and it doesn't matter. This is one that I did actually. My concept of time isn't really that great right now, so I'm not sure when Elizabeth did a prompt with us, but we wrote a letter to ourselves. And so at the top it says, "Dear Kali," and it was a letter I wrote myself about, how something about myself as a kid was going to support me during this time, when we're staying home. And anyway, so I wrote about that, and then I ended up painting over it, and it says, and then I wrote on top of it too, it says, "I'm mostly okay," which is true. These days I am. I'm mostly okay. If you can see the whole thing. There's an owl I created. So I love to experiment with different media. I love mark making and layering. You can see this one that's up here behind me. Like, I just love splattering paint and making a big mess of things. I also like to paint on things that people might not necessarily typically paint on. Like I've got my little lamp. You can see my lampshade over there. I painted flowers on it. I kind of have a thing for flowers, like I said. Um, I've got one of my backpacks that I've painted flowers all over. Kind of things are sitting still around here. They're likely to get painted on. I also have a friend that does woodworking, and she gives me her scraps. And so, you know, I've got all these little, I use them as palettes, but eventually they'll be paintings too. So I like to kind of upcycle or recycle my supplies in that way. So thank you, Lynn, a friend of mine that's been giving me those. It's also really fun to paint big, and I'm going to take you guys for a little tour of my house. Some of you have been here, but here we go. So I'm going to take you in our little hallway, and I have painted, you can see a mural. So kind of love owls. I painted this one several years ago. It was in 2014 when I painted this one. Try to see if I can kind of get the whole scope of it. It's pretty big, kind of fun, whimsical house. There's more flowers. There's people in it too. Let's see one right up there at the top. And then the cover of our air conditioning unit, the little door where it's housed, it's painted. And also where our hot water heater, it's painted too. You can see I love layering. Tons and tons of layers. Makes me happy. And I'm going to take y'all outside too, because my whole family helped with a project that we have out here. So we have a fence that it's between our house and the house next door. And it was falling apart, and they were building a house next door. And so we decided we'd go ahead and redo our fence. And so we did all new boards, and then we all painted it white. And then I went over it and I painted this, it's about 30 feet, a big flower mural out here. So that's in our front yard. You see, we got a trailer right there. All those flowers. Anyway, I love it. Makes me happy every time I get home. So I was thinking, a friend of mine pointed out the other day, and I knew it, but I hadn't really put a name to it. She's like, "Oh, you paint in series." And I'm like, "Oh, I totally do that." I'll paint flowers for a long time, and then I'll paint owls, and then I'll switch to something else. And so I was just going to kind of show you what I have been doing this summer. I've been kind of painting these quirky little abstracts. And if you see my stuff on Facebook, you've probably already seen all these, but it's kind of a reflection of, just how it's been going this summer. So this is a little guy, and he's wearing a mask, and he says, "I want to live." And then thinking a lot about, since I'm a teacher, this little guy, he's saying, "Play with me." And I just really don't know what school is going to look like, if when we go back, what are 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, how does play look in, the time of social distancing. So that's what inspired that. And I'm also doing another series at the same time. I've been doing a lot of portraits, usually just straight out of my head. But so I've been painting people, and when I pulled this one out, I found this other one, and so it just kind of, I was looking at the two of them. So this was in 2013, and this is 2019. I mean, what is this year? 2020. I don't even know. And it just kind of shows that, practice can make progress. I actually love this little one just as much as this one. I think they're both, I just think they're pretty sweet, both of them. Show you a couple more. Here's another portrait I did recently. And then this last one is a self-portrait I did, which is actually going to be a painting that I will probably be one of the few that I hold on to. And I know it doesn't exactly look like me, but to me, it really captures this time. I've been wearing, I got fancy for y'all. I put on my fancy overalls, but I have been wearing just the same tank tops. I have 3 of them every single day and shorts throughout, since summer. I just have not bothered. And just kind of wearing my hair on the side. Anyway, to me, it's a really special piece. It's a reflection of this time that we're at right now. I've been really, really grateful for my art and my writing. I like to write a lot too. I've actually been writing and creating art almost every single day this summer. And partway into summer, I can't exactly remember when, I actually submitted a piece of art and an essay to go with it, and it's going to get published in a literary journal in January. So that's super exciting. That's a first for me. Yay, thank you. So let's see. Oh my goodness, I've been totally ignoring the chat here. Thank you guys, everybody. Yes, it is super fun being able to paint my own walls. See. Oh, thanks, Patricia. And yay, yeah, I love my overalls too. So I was thinking about what I really, really love about being an artist. And I think my favorite thing is when people say that my work brightens their day, or that when people tell me that I have said or communicated something with my art that they were also feeling but didn't really know how to put into words, and that my art expressed that. And also, if somebody says that I inspired them, that's just amazing. That's the best thing. So I am going to take you guys out so that we can meet Phyllis, who, again, whoops, just lost my light. She has been the subject of a lot of my paintings, and she's been a big inspiration. But if anybody has any questions, I'm just going to take my computer out there so I can get her out of her coop, and you guys, however you want to handle it, to unmute people, or if anybody has anything to say, I would love to hear it. I think my dog's going to come out with us. Hazel, thanks for listening to me.
I have a question on the fence mural. What color were the flowers? I couldn't tell if they were black and white or if they had color in them.
Just black and white.
I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I did that. I created that in 3 days. It was in 2017, but 3 days before school started. I just stayed outside about 8 or 9 hours a day and painted. It was really fun. All right,
And
let me get finished. Go ahead.
What kind of paint did you use on the mural?
I think, and I want to say it's just exterior paint. David can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what we chose to do. So this is my Phyllis. She is a Polish hen, and she is the light of our life. We absolutely love this little chicken, and we are down to 1 chicken, and so I actually come out here every single day, and I spend a lot of time just sitting in the backyard. And in the spring, when I was teaching my students remotely, I would teach sitting outside with her. So it's definitely got its advantages being able to be home a lot. But she is just the sweetest thing. Super friendly chicken. We love her. Yeah. Hi. Oh, Hazel. That's my dog. 1 second. Come here. Here you go, Phyllis. And I always clean my hands after I touch my chicken because, chicken. Anyway, I'll go back inside.
What kind of chicken is Phyllis?
She is a Polish chicken. And she's got messy hair, don't care kind of thing going on every single day.
How old is she?
She is 6. She is an old lady chicken, which is kind of why we're not getting more chickens at this point, because we have loved having chickens, but we also think that it would be nice to not. We have like 12 or 13 animals at one point, and so we're just kind of downsizing as far as all of our critters go. But she does get a lot of social time because I'm out there a lot with her. Oh, Michael. Yeah, Michael, do you want to say anything about that? No pressure.
Sure. I will just say that I think I described it as an amazing cosmic event or something like that. But my wife Susan has had progressive MS for 25 years, and 7 years ago was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And we started building artwork around this theme of hope. And I think this was back when you were, selling your stuff on Etsy, but I had seen, the painting that you did of hope. It's just the outline of a younger woman, and it says hope at the bottom. And I saw it, and I probably commented that, wow, I really liked that. And Kali, you kind of knew about Susan, having MS and that it had been very difficult. So I think the next day I went ahead and bought the original and was waiting for it to show up. And during that time, I went outside to my mailbox, and there was the piece of art, but it was a print. And, so I got online and I messaged Kali. I was like, did you send me a print of hope? And, she responded, well, yeah, I did. And then like the next day, I got the original in the mail. I mean, she had no idea that, or did you know? Did you know that I had ordered the original?
No, I shipped you the print before you ordered the original.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of those things where, how did this possibly happen?
Yeah, or something
and
like
it was
that.
just that. Yeah, it was just that connection of, art and love and positive energy. And it was, it definitely changed. It was a very, very positive experience on an otherwise difficult set of situations for us. And it's the centerpiece of our hope wall.
I love that. Thank you.
Michael, would you mind showing that to us if you can, please? Because that's an amazing story.
We are also most likely going to be featured on a blog based on that story as well. So I'll share that if and when I hear that that's going to happen. I'm not a podcast.
Okay, so the hope wall,
yeah.
We have some industrial signs and some different things. It's gonna be a little difficult to get in here to see hope, but there she is.
It's so cute.
And we have another one of Kali's hope paintings over on the opposite wall.
So yeah, that's the best.
Gay,
That,
did you
that
have
heart connection. Go ahead.
I saw Gay was unmuting earlier.
Yes. Well, I'm part of the Parsons clan. So I've been observing this journey of Kali's from the beginning and have witnessed every single step. Uh, and I just wanted to say that what I have always, from the beginning of this journey of hers, what has so impressed me is that someone can make an aim like that to do a painting and a blog every single day and not let anything stand in the way of that has been so inspiring to me. I make plenty of aims, and sometimes they may last a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then I find that I kind of lose the energy for that somehow. So to have witnessed this in her has been just a beautiful thing for me. And I also have, I guess probably maybe 6 pieces of her art in my house, one of which she gifted me with, which I had admired in her house. She gave it to me. I hung it, and my paint color just did not work. My color scheme in my house did not work with that painting at all. So I ended up painting my entire house. I ended up painting every piece of woodwork in my house. I got new floors, all because of this one painting, which is now hanging in the kitchen. So that was kind of interesting.
You're welcome. I love that.
Where is that painting? Please show us. That is crazy cool.
Can you carry your computer into the kitchen, Mimi?
Yes, I sure can. Well, let me show you. I don't know if the lighting is good enough in here. Hang on just a second. I have so many of her things. Let's see if this, is there some way to flip this camera, or do I just have to turn the camera
No,
around?
just turn it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Can you all see that one?
That's a Klimt.
That is, yeah, that's after Klimt. Okay,
one of my favorites. Oh, you just muted yourself, Mimi.
So I guess the takeaway is to be careful when you buy one of Kali's paintings. You might end up redecorating your entire house.
While Gay is muted, I thought I would jump in here and take exception to something she said. She said she had been here since the beginning, and I just wanted to tell her I've got a few years on her.
That's my dad.
Well, I've been here since she joined my family by marrying my son, which is quite a few years ago. Okay, here is the painting. You see that? So it has kind of subtle shades of pinks and lavenders, and my house palette was more gold, and it just did not work. So everything now is, all my walls are kind of pale bluish.
I love that.
You.
So I'm going to ask if anybody kind of has any final questions or comments for Kali. Kali, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This was fun. And y'all didn't make me feel nervous at all. I actually said it and I didn't mean it. So, thank you. Thank you. This was fun.
I've known Kali pretty much since we moved here in 2007, and she's my neighbor. And so we get that delightful fence all the time. We love it. It just sort of like popped up and we're like, wow, that's so cool. And I've been a client of hers as well. We had a whole spate of cousins getting married, boom, boom, boom. And Kali always had some great paintings, and I'd run over, what do you have? What do you have? And they always loved them. You know, it's hard to buy art for people, but Unless they're just big fat liars, and I don't think they were. I think they really, yeah.
I love it.
So,
And
anyway,
I am reading all the comments, so thank you, everybody. Thank you. And I just want to say a big keeping thank you. I'm getting very sweet comments.
you are.
Go ahead. Oh, Drew has her hand up. Did you want
Can
to
I do something? Hey, I'm Drew. I'm a fellow art teacher in Austin ISD, and I know Kali from Faith and Faith's House. I don't know, just a mutual friend, and some really nice times. And I haven't seen your work this much before, so I'm really like surprised and pleased to know that you make art every day. Because as a fellow artist, I have to take breaks, but that's amazing. And
I do take some breaks.
okay, well, still, even like the littlest thing is really cool. I think I would to encourage everyone here to be creating something. It doesn't have to be drawing or painting. Do something that enjoys you. Overall message in quarantine times, I think it's what we are gonna be needing, and creating community. So I appreciate the community here as well. So thank you for sharing, and it's awesome.
Kali, the one thing that came to my mind, and maybe it's something that all you teachers can get together and do, or you with the children, or you yourself, is to look into the city's art and public places and see if you can't get a grant, since you do these giant murals. It seems to me that there could be some sort of place in Austin for you to create that. Another way for you to make your mark here in the city of Austin as an artiste.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, there's funding. There's funding, and it's very collaborative. It's a very interesting experience. You throw some children in there with the school district, and you probably will easily get a grant. Right?
All right. Thanks for the idea.
Just an idea to expand.
Thank you again, Kali.
Grateful. Yes, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll be signing off.
Thank you, guys. Y'all made my day.
Thank you to our funders, Texas Commission on the Arts, St. David's Foundation, Cultural Arts City of Austin, National Endowments for the Arts Creative Forces, Austin Public Library, and Donald D. Hamill Foundation.